The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Far away in the land of Andalusia, Spain, lived a shepherd named Santiago. He loved to travel. He always used to take his sheep with him wherever he went and sold wool for money. One day, he decided to go to Tarifa, which he had visited once before, to sell wool to a merchant whose daughter he admired. It becomes dark before he reaches the village, so he keeps his sheep in an empty church and himself sleeps under a tree for the night. In his sleep, he dreams that a small boy is playing with his sheep and takes him to the pyramids where the boy tells him, "Here is your treasure." The moment he was about to tell the location, he wakes up. He becomes restless as the dream has occurred to him several times before. At that time, he realizes that there lives a woman in Tarifa who can solve this mystery for him. He goes to Tarifa the next day to see her and tells her about the dream. The woman, on the other hand, demands 1/10 of the treasure for explaining to him the meaning of his dream. Santiago excitedly agrees to the condition. She tells him that he will find his treasure near the Egyptian pyramids. Santiago finds it very illogical and returns from there. He goes to a nearby market where an old man approaches him. He notifies Santiago that he can help to find the treasure. But Santiago just ignores the man. The old man reveals that he is Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He loves to travel, so he always changes his appearance so no one could recognize him. The man tells Santiago that he can give him address of the treasure if he agrees to present him with 1/10 of his sheep. The king advises him, if a person desires to achieve something, the whole universe helps in fulfilling the desire. Santiago replies that he can give him 1/10 of the treasure instead of his sheep. To this the man says, if he promises to give something which he doesn't even have yet, then he will lose the desire to achieve it also. The next day, Santiago gives him his share of sheep. The man tells him that he has to go to Egypt for the treasure and gives him 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, to read the nature's signal. He sends Santiago on a ship to Africa. When Santiago arrives at Tangier, Morocco, he was robbed by the people. He thinks to himself that now he doesn't have any money, even his sheep, and he is in complete new place. He regrets trying to find the treasure and leaving everything behind. There he sees a crystal merchant shop on a hill. He goes there and tells the owner that he can clean the crystal and makes them shiny as new in a return of food. The owner offers him the job and Santiago agrees to work there for some time. And when he has sufficient money, he'll go back. While working for a few days, he notices that the people get tired after climbing the hill, and there were also no food shops on the hill. So Santiago suggests the owner to start selling tea in a crystal shop to earn more. In a year, the owner and Santiago earns a lot of money. Santiago considers going back to the village and buy double the amount of sheep he had, but then he recalls what the old man had said. Santiago joins a caravan heading towards Egypt, where he meets an Englishman who is in search of an alchemist. He tells him that Alchemist is 200 years old and he can turn lead into gold. Santiago helps the Englishman to find the alchemist. They both reaches a well where they meet Fatima. Fatima tells them that the alchemist lives near south of Oasis. Santiago starts to admire Fatima and goes to the well to meet her every day. The Englishman reaches Alchemist's place. The alchemist asks the man if he have ever tried to make the gold from lead while fighting him for 10 years. The Englishman answers no. To this, the alchemist tells him to go and try. Santiago starts to learn the language of desert. One day, he sees 2 eagles fighting each other and sees a vision that an army is about to attack the village. He runs to the head of the village and tells him everything. The head arranges an army and warns Santiago that if the vision proves wrong, then he will be killed. The next day, an army truly attacks the village, but the village people win as they were ready to defeat. They reward Santiago with 50 gold pieces and makes him the counselor of the village. Santiago is now filled with happiness and decides to stay there with Fatima, as she is the only treasure he needs. He tells the Fatima about this. She tells Santiago that she is a woman of desert and they are used to waiting for their man to come home. Fatima explains him that true love would never stop him from following his dreams and that he should continue to find the treasure. The Santiago considers this and he moves on with Alchemist to find the treasure. They both travel in the desert for days As they move ahead, some men capture both of them and accuse them of being spies. Alchemist gives them 50 gold coins of Santiago and tells them that they were only going for a hunt, and the Santiago is an alchemist and can turn himself into an air in 3 days that can blow away their camps. The master of that area warns Santiago and the alchemist that if Santiago fails to do so, they both will be killed. Santiago and Alchemist talks in alone. He tells Alchemist that now they are stuck and they will be killed. The Alchemist advises Santiago to let go of the fear of failure and death, and that he can easily become air if he focuses on the desert signal. On the third day, Santiago stands on a high hill and talks in the language of universe with the help of desert, wind and sun. He succeeds in becoming the air and breaks a huge storm. As a result, those people leave them alone. They both travels again for a few days and reach a monk. The alchemist turns lead into gold in the monk's home. He breaks the gold into 4 pieces. One piece he keeps with himself to go back home, and another piece he gives to Santiago, as the 50 gold coins were given to the camp people. He gives 2 pieces to the monk, one for himself and one for the Santiago when he returns back from the pyramids. From this point, Santiago and Alchemist parted their way. Santiago reaches the pyramids and starts digging. Suddenly, some people arrives and snatches away the gold from Santiago. They began to think that Santiago has definitely hidden the gold here. They beat him and tell him to dig quickly. At last, Santiago tells them about his dream and the treasure. The people who came there laughed at Santiago and tell him that they also had a dream about the disrupted church in Spain, where a shepherd was sleeping in his dreams and the gold was hidden under a tree. Those people think of a Santiago as a fool, and also he must have stolen the gold piece, so they leave him there alone. Later, Santiago laughs at them and realizes that his treasure is in Spain only, in that very church. And sycamore tree is the symbol of Egypt, and therefore he saw the Egypt in his dream. He goes back to church and starts digging, and is elated to see his treasure. According to his promise, he gives 1/10 of his treasure to the woman in Tarifa. He decides to go back to the desert to Fatima and lives his life. This book teaches us that no matter what, we should always follow our dreams.